Good afternoon, Club 17. We have a great program today, and it's a pleasure to have Anthony Muñoz visiting with us as our guest speaker. Great to have you here. So we're going to kick things off with watching a video of the Star-Spangled Banner, if you face the flag.
And now, to honor America, please join the Brotherhood Singers for the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see, by the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bomb bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
And I think that was a fitting one for today. Now we're going to have the invocation and four-way test led by Jim Hudson.
I've seen those guys live. They're really, really fun. Well, let's pray together. Lord, I praise you. We praise you for the fall. We praise you for falling temperatures in the morning chill, for trees turning gold, red, brown, and orange, as well as the beauty of falling leaves, for the interplay of outside temperatures and inside warmth, for the promise of cider and pumpkin pie, especially Frisch's, and for the beauty and hope that comes with the change of a season. We also pray for your blessing on our meeting today, and may Anthony's words encourage us as we strive to be a source of encouragement to others in our lives. Now for the four-way test. Now let's all remember and say together, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.
Please be seated. Thank you, Jim. And now to introduce our guest, Carl Kappas.
Well, we have two special visitors and guests with us today. First is Craig Young. If you'll remember, he was this year's 2020 Jefferson Award winner. He's back here in the back with Inspiring Service. And as you applaud now, we don't know, but tonight is the National Jefferson Award ceremony. And you can be there, because all you have to do is go to multiplyinggood.org. It starts at 6:30. You can be there to watch, to see what happens. So if you have a chance, go there. And our second guest is equally as important. This gentleman happens to be the father, the dad, of Nancy Reese. He also happens to be 101 years young. And especially today, it's important to know that he has been a Bengals ticket holder, season ticket holder, since 1968 when they started. Welcome, Mr. Cook.
Thank you, Carl. And now we're going to have a report on Believe to Achieve by Carl and by John Farmeyer.
We want to say a big thank you to everybody that participated in our first virtual Believe to Achieve, and hopefully our last virtual, because we really miss being all together to celebrate. A huge thank you to all of our sponsors that were so generous, to those of you that donated silent auction items, live auction items, and to those of you that bought those items. We want to also thank all of those of you who have already donated to send a child to camp. As of today's totals, we came up rather short of our goal of $30,000 on the Send a Child to Camp portion. We've had 49 donors, 43 of those are Rotarians, for a giving total of $15,550. This is in addition to what we will make, and we don't have the final numbers on all the auction items. But we have right now a short little video that Christy's going to play, and then I've got a couple words to say after that. I know that a lot of you have been to camp before. Thank you. A lot of you have been to camp before. This camp that these kids go to, it's a twofold purpose. It gives them the opportunity to have a fantastic week or weekend at camp, but it also gives the parents and caregivers of these children who do a lot of work 24/7, it gives them a respite while their kids are out and just having the times of their lives, sometimes even those balloon rides that we sponsor. So, as it mentioned there, $1,000 would send a child for 7 days of overnight camp or 4 weeks of day camp, and $500 sends a child to 2 weeks of day camp or 3 nights of overnight camp. $250 sends a child for 1 week of day camp, and $100 sends a child for 2 days of camping. Hope we can really count on all of you that didn't have a chance to participate in Believe to Achieve or get to donate, to be able to donate to send a child to camp. You can do it by going to our website and just hit the donate button. You can call the office and tell them to charge your credit card, or if you want to do a one-time credit card, or send in a check. But if you can, it would be great if we could help do that.
So I'm just like Carl, I'm going to ask you all to stand up tall and help support Believe to Achieve. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't have to stand on a chair this time.
Thank you, John and Carl. And now we have a few announcements. First of all, just a reminder that when you're finished eating, if you would put your mask back on. We are trying to follow all the right protocols, keep us all healthy and safe. So we have some birthdays to celebrate this week. September 22nd, Rob Cross. September 23rd, David Aarons. September 25th, Ashish Chatterjee. September 26th, Steve Dreyfel. And September 28th, Joe Hyman. Please join me in wishing them a happy birthday. And we've been doing a lot of good service work, and I actually have a thank you note that I want to remember to read. Give me a second. One of the really good areas of service we've had the last few months has been helping the schools to be ready to receive children back for education. And that's a big deal for any community, and especially for ours. And we've done many different projects that have kind of been a whole set of projects with that in mind, with Cincinnati Public Schools and Norwood Schools. And this week, 6 of our fellow club members delivered 500 backpacks of PPE supplies to a very grateful group of teachers at the Roselawn Condon School. And this fits really well with our Rotary International goal. One of our focus areas is supporting education, and we are certainly doing that here. Special thanks to those Rotarians who helped this week: Bob and Mary Brandstetter, Brad Green, Jane Burkhead, Owen Rassman, and Bill Stilley. Our thanks to them. And I want to read a nice note that we got, thank you note that we got from teachers at Roselawn Condon School. And it says, "Dear Rotary members, thank you so much for the beautiful flowers and for the PPE supplies. We appreciate all you do for us." Signed, Miss Leah Runyon and Miss Marlene Tucker, preschool at Roselawn, room 1412. So it's a joy, really. I know many of us have helped with the various projects over the last 3 months. It's a joy to be able to help and to be of service. And with that in mind, we have an area of service, an opportunity for club members. There are areas of Cincinnati called food deserts. Some of the food deserts have to do not just with quantity of food, but with the availability of fresh fruit and vegetables. And we as a club do have an opportunity to help in a larger effort in Cincinnati and potentially pick up 1 or 2 neighborhood sites where we would distribute fruits and vegetables. We do need Rotarians, if we're going to do this, who would commit to do this with a frequency of at least once a month to help either pick up the produce or take it to the site and distribute it. And more details on that can be found by either talking to Pat Neal Miller, a member of our club, and her email address is in this week's E-Raise, or Bill Stilley, who's the head of Hands-On Service. His email is there as well. So if you'd like to sign up, please do. Just send an email to either Bill or Pat. If you want to ask questions, just contact either of them. And depending how many Rotarians have an interest in helping on a regular basis, we'll decide if we can move ahead and what sites we'll help at. And in an administrative matter, this is the time of year we update the membership directory. So if you have an update to either your information or family information, you name it, whatever, please take a look at your current directory and then just call Christy in the Rotary office with any changes. And do that, if you would, by October 1st. Now, switching gears to Women in Rotary, a very active group within our club. Women in Rotary this year is supporting an organization called Dress for Success. Dress for Success really helps support women in the area in terms of being prepared in various ways for well-paying jobs and supporting them in both their work life and in their personal life. And this fits well with a whole area of Rotary International Service called Growing Local Economies. So we have a number of women very active in that. I think it's a great activity. More details will follow as the year goes on. And with that in mind, the Women in Rotary would love to invite all club members to a special event on Saturday, October 3rd. It's called the Better Cities Film Festival, put on by Women in Film Cincinnati. It's going to be a series of 8 very short films, 2 to 10 minutes long each, which deal with urban issues around this country and actually around the world. And the anchor film, Blue Goes Green, is by our very own Rotarian, Lori Quinlivan. So again, this is an event for all club members on the evening of October 3rd. It starts at 7:30. At the end of all the films, for a time of discussion, I think people will walk over to Brink Brewing, which must be nearby, and have a chance just to have some fellowship and discussion. So if you're interested, look at your E-Raise. There's a link in there. You can register. The cost is $10 per walk-in, or if you're a biker, bike in, and $25 per car. Should be a lot of fun. So take a look at E-Raise on that. And now just a quick word on members in the news. Please keep Steve Rogers and his wife Carol and their family in your thoughts and prayers. as they mourn the loss of Carol's brother Virgil this past weekend. Our condolences to you, Steve, and your family. And a reminder, next week's meeting, a big one, Wally Emmerling Day. That's a huge event, a great event. I hope everybody can either join in person or on Zoom. So stay tuned, that's always great. And now I'd like to switch gears and introduce our speaker today. Anthony Muñoz is the president and chairman of the Anthony Muñoz Foundation. He is one of Cincinnati's true sports icons, and I would say more than just Cincinnati in that regard. He's considered by many as the greatest offensive lineman in NFL history, and he has a record of excellence that is unrivaled in professional football. He was an 11-time NFL Pro Bowl selection, and he's the only Pro Football Hall of Fame inductee in Cincinnati's Bengal history. Since retiring, Anthony and his family have remained in Cincinnati, where he has served as one of our community's most accessible and involved advocates. And he's a native of Southern California, played football, basketball, and baseball in high school there, and received a football scholarship to the University of Southern California, where he helped lead the Trojans to the 1978 National Championship. And throughout his career at USC, he earned All-American and All-Conference honors. Anthony was selected by the Bengals as the 3rd overall pick in 1980, instantly became one of the league's premier linemen. He helped lead the team to 2 Super Bowls, 3 AFC Central Division titles, and 2 AFC championships. Those years were 1981 and 1988. And in addition to all of that, he was named on 3 occasions as the NFL Offensive Lineman of the Year, and on 4 different years, the NFL Players Association Lineman of the Year. And an amazing thing, kind of the Cal Ripken of football in some ways, Anthony, from 1980 to 1992, started in 185 out of 186 games. He was selected to play in 11 consecutive Pro Bowl games, and he is also a member of the NFL 75th anniversary all-time team. Anthony was recognized for his tireless community involvement while playing for the Bengals. He was the recipient of the Athletes in Action Bart Starr Award for Leadership in 1990, was named the Cincinnati Bengals Man of the Year for 5 consecutive years, and in 1991 he was honored as the NFL Walter Payton Man of the Year. But following his retirement from football, there's a new chapter. Anthony was elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame on the first ballot. His son was there to help introduce him at the induction. And then in 2002, Anthony established the Anthony Muñoz Foundation, a nonprofit organization that engages tribal to impact them in positive ways mentally, physically, and spiritually. And since its inception, the foundation has impacted over 40,000 children and raised more than $13 million to serve in various areas. And this foundation continues to grow. So, Anthony, there's so much here. I could have said even more, but please join me in welcoming Anthony Muñoz to the Rotary Club of Cincinnati.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Brett, thank you for those kind words. We'll have to hook up and I'll have to buy you lunch. I just put one line and he added all the rest. So it's a pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. And first of all, I've known Craig Young for quite a while now. And Craig, congratulations. I know you do quite a bit. And I know you won't be finished. You'll continue to do great work. Craig brought a jersey for me to sign up here. And I said, Craig, didn't you hear? I don't sign items when I'm getting ready to speak. And I was just messing with them. Craig's son played in the band at the University of Southern California, where I went. I said, Craig, I will sign this jersey if your son comes to my office and it's just by himself and he plays fight on for me just one time. And So I think Doug heard him. He said he would try to get him over to the office to play that. So congratulations, Craig, on your great award. Mr. Cook, just don't tell all the people here all the bad plays you saw over the years that you were down at Old Riverfront Stadium watching me, okay? Let's just talk about the good plays I had, all right? So that's something else. The fact that you've been a season ticket holder since the beginning, that is amazing. So pleasure meeting you when I first got here. And tell you what, hopefully in the near future it opens back up so we can go back down. And I know I'm excited about going watching Joe Burrow in person. So I'm high on Joe Burrow. I just, we need to get some of those guys up front protecting him. Okay, that's all I'll say. But it really is a pleasure to be with you. And when I was asked to speak, one of the things I tell a lot of people as an old guy, I'm learning a lot about technology. I know Lori here has a production company, and we were talking earlier, and I have my own little setup doing Zoom and my computer and my iPad, my phone, whatever I need, whatever device. I'm experienced now. And, before it was like, help, I need some help with my young staff. Now I think I pretty much can navigate through things and find out what I'm doing wrong. And they can see my face back on Zoom after I eliminated from one of my interviews. But it's been fun learning new things. So when I was asked to come down, and I said, well, am I going to get a Zoom link? And they said, no, you're actually going to come down in person. There's going to be people. I said, yeah. I got really excited about coming down and being with people and getting a chance to have lunch with you and to share a few words with you today. So again, Brett, Rotary Club of Cincinnati, thank you for having me here and allowing me to come and just be with people in person. I know we're kind of still with the mask and giving arm bumps and stuff like that, but that's good enough. It'll, I'm such a people person. I want to hug and I go, oh, okay. And so, when I was asked to come and talk, and it's about service above self. And I can't tell you that I know every single thing about the Rotary Club, but if somebody was to ask me, do you know about the Rotary Club, I'd say, yeah, it's a great service club. And now that I've heard about the programs you have, the camps, and so on and so forth, I applaud all the work that you do, because that's also a passion of mine. When I share with young people, I talk about don't forget where you come from. You see, because even though there might have been some tough times and maybe your circumstances weren't the best growing up, I believe that you remember those times because it makes you who you become. It helps those building blocks, that foundation, to make you who you become. And I've learned that because growing up in Southern California, one of 5 kids, 2 older brothers. Up until about a month ago, I had 2 younger sisters. I just lost a sister last month who was just a little over a year younger than me. But my mom raised 5 of us by herself. We lost Mom 4 years ago. Mom was mom, dad, coach. But first of all, we knew she was the boss. I mean, we never had a car. She worked 2-3 jobs to provide for her 5 kids. You see, and I talk about valuable lessons, not that she sat us at a table and sat there and said, okay, this is what work ethic is all about. This is what responsibility is all about. This is what helping other people is all about. She didn't have to verbally express that to us. All we had to do was watch her as she would walk to work at 6:30 in the morning. And she would come back 4 or 5 o'clock to fix dinner for us. Or we would bring pillowcases of clothes home from our teachers, and she would iron them, and they would come pick up the clothes. And I'm talking not just iron them. With all due respect to dry cleaners and people that have businesses like that, my mom just didn't iron. She was one with starch. You could not see a wrinkle. And she taught us those things. Or at the chicken farm that she worked at, that she packed eggs. Or the field in season that she went out there in Southern California and picked grapes. So I'm not talking easy jobs. I'm talking about hard labor jobs. But she did those to show us what work ethic was and what responsibility was and how she took care of us and provided for us. So I look at that and say, there's no way I'm going to forget where I came from. I didn't realize that we didn't have a whole lot until I got to high school. Because growing up as kids, we might have just had one outfit going to school, but it was washed and ironed all the time. She always said, just because we don't have a lot, you don't have to look like you don't have a lot. So not only did she teach us how to iron, but man, I'd get that can of spray starch and starch it and crease my jeans. And I said, Mom, but why are you ironing our undershirts? Nobody sees them. She goes, I see it. She taught us how to wash dishes, how to wash clothes, how to cook. Valuable lessons growing up there in Southern California that have carried over through elementary school, high school, college, my pro career now as an old retired NFL football player, as a husband, as a father, and as a grandfather, and a member of this great community. She taught us work ethic and then responsibility. As a kid, baseball was my first love. I wanted to play, especially during the summer, I wanted to play baseball all day long. During the school year, I couldn't go out and play baseball unless what? My homework was finished. Responsibility. During the summer, I couldn't just wake up and leave 7:30 in the morning. I would be able to leave after I did my chores, cleaning the house, washing dishes, or whatever I had to do that day. Then I could go out and play baseball. Responsibility. So I learned about that growing up there in the Muñoz household. Things that I'll never forget. Things that my kids kind of kid me about. When they were in high school and Dee Dee was busy fixing lunch, Dee Dee's my wife, fixing lunch, getting things ready, and they might need a pair of pants ironed, I'd say, I'll iron them for you. And they go, Dad, easy on the starch. You don't need to take 15, 20 minutes creasing them. I say, but they're going to look really good. And they say, yeah, but we don't have that much time. So she taught us all those things. So I'll never forget going through high school. As Brett mentioned, I was a football, basketball, and baseball player in addition to going to class and making sure that was taken care of. Then I decided to go to the University of Southern California. I got my school paid for. Oh, my goodness. I would go grab my tuition bill, probably nothing like it is now. Craig, you know about that. And I'd grab that, and we'd have to take it to the athletic department. And I'd grab that tuition bill, and I'd go, thank God we don't have to pay for this. But I had to do my part in order to maintain that. So I go there, and I'll never forget valuable lessons my mom taught us. I remember the first month, I got another football player I'm rooming with. It's time to do wash. I got my pillowcase full of dirty clothes, and I say, hey, you need some clothes washed. And he looks at me, and he goes, you know how to use that thing? I said, yeah, you just put a few quarters in it, move the dial, put the soap in it, turn it on. He goes, wow. And I'm thinking, well, he didn't learn all these things that I learned at home. Valuable lessons that we learned. How to take care of other people. And it was in college that I learned that service above self was really important. See, I got to USC, and as Brett introduced me, he talked about national championship at SC, he talked about All-America and this. But then he talked about the NFL career. The body of work in the NFL, there was a lot of accolades. The body of work at USC as a football player, very few. A lot of people don't realize, even though the Bengals made me the third pick in the entire draft my senior year, I didn't even play half of my football games at USC. After playing football, basketball, and baseball in high school and not remembering missing a game because of injury. For 4 years, I would go from sport to sport to sport and not miss a game because of injury. All of a sudden at USC in 4 years, 3 years, I missed more than half the games because I went through knee operations. My freshman year, 7 games into the season, my first knee operation. My second year was healthy. My third year, 7 games into the season, my second knee operation. My senior year, my last hurrah, not 7 games into the season or halfway through, the second time we had the football in the first game. We're in Texas, flying back to LA. I knew exactly what I had to do because I'd experienced that pain before. Third knee operation in 4 years, missed the entire season. Everybody had written me off. Before my senior year, they projected me as a top 10 pick. After that surgery, they said you'd be lucky to sign as a free agent. You'd be lucky to have any NFL team interested. But you know what kicked in? Even at a higher level prior to that was that work ethic and responsibility that Mom taught us. I said, for my first 3 years, we had played in 2 Rose Bowls. I'd yet to play in one. Couple of the reasons I went to USC, there were several reasons. Back in the 70s, USC was winning national championships, winning Rose Bowls, Heisman Trophy winners, pumping out All-Americans and pumping out number 1 picks for the NFL. I wanted some of that. I wanted to be one of those, and it wasn't happening for me. So by my senior year, in 3 years, I'd played in 1 UCLA game. I'd played in 1 Notre Dame game, and that's what I wanted when I went to USC. I knew we were going to play UCLA, and I knew we were going to play Notre Dame. But I only played in 1 UCLA and 1 Notre Dame game. Going into my senior year, we'd played in 2 Rose Bowls. We'd coming off that national championship season my junior year, and I'm pretty sure we're going to play again in a Rose Bowl. But I'm hurt. I'm sitting there walking around with crutches and a backpack going from class to rehab to strengthening to my apartment to do homework. And that last surgery, I'd been married a little over 2 years. My wife and I got married my sophomore year in college. So in addition to class, rehab, weight training, homework, there was a few tears that were shed on her shoulder. It was tough. I can tell you it was tough. I wanted to play in 1 Rose Bowl with the guys that I'd entered school with, and I was determined that that was going to be my senior year. And the guys would put their arm around me and say, "You'll be back." They probably thought, this guy's nuts. We win the Pac-10 at the time. I know it's Pac-12 now. I'm an old guy. My first 2 years in college, it was a Pac-8. My last 2 years, it was a Pac-10. Now it's the Pac-12. We're going to our 3rd Rose Bowl in 4 years, and I'm determined to play in that game. I had to go in and convince my head coach, John Robinson, that I was ready to play. Finally, after half an hour of convincing him, he said, "Okay, if you get the okay from the doctor, you can play." So I went to the doc. The doc said, "There's no reason why you can't play. Your left leg's actually stronger than your right leg." So I got to play. I went through every practice and played in the 1980 Rose Bowl, the only game I played in my senior year. Thank God that Paul Brown, Pete Brown, and Mike Brown were watching that game. Quite honestly, after 4 years at USC, that might have been the best game I played after being hurt 3 years. And I'm thankful that the Bengals drafted me. Now, 40 years later, 40 years this year, this past April, they drafted me, and this is still home, and we're thankful that this is home. After 13 years in the NFL, again, learning service above self in college because I was hurt a lot. So that gave me an opportunity to speak to inner city kids. When my guys were out practicing, getting ready for UCLA and Oregon State and Notre Dame, I was rehabbing, then had a chance to go downtown and speak to inner city kids. And I fell in love with that. I fell in love with the platform, right or wrong, that we have, that we can go and tell kids the same things their parents are telling them. Stay in school, respect each other, work together, stay out of trouble. And for some reason, because we're football players or athletes, they listen a little. See, your mom and dad are telling you, listen to your parents. They love you. They will always be there for you. So when I got to Cincinnati, that was natural. I knew that my priority was producing on the football field. I was married. A year after I got here, we started our family. So I knew that that was my job. I needed to provide for my family. But there was plenty of time to get involved in this great community. And I did that while I was playing. As you all know, this is such an engaged community, such a giving community. So after 13 years with the Bengals, the way I look at it, I left the team with about 50, 55 guys. Now I'm on a team with thousands and hundreds of thousands of teammates. That's the way I look at it here in Cincinnati. After I retired, it was like, okay, kids are 9 and 11. Dee Dee and I are settled into Cincinnati. In fact, the week after my last game in the old office that no longer exists there on the riverfront stadium, I got a call from my head coach at USC, and he was going back for the second time to USC. And 6 days after my last game, he asked me to come out to LA and be his offensive line coach. Oh, I said, give me 2 days. Kids are 9-11. Dee Dee and I are praying about it. I call him back. He called me Saturday morning. I call him back Monday night. I said, John, as much as I would love to go into full-time coaching, I believe I could be an excellent coach for you. I had a passion to teach. My line coach here, my last 2 years at the Bengals, during practice, he would let me go with a couple of guys and during practice coach them. But I said, I'm going to have to say no. We're going to stay in Cincinnati, raise our kids in Cincinnati. No regrets. I said, John, you know, those beaches are overrated. You got sand that gets in your shoes. So I didn't go into coaching, I went into broadcasting. But I had a plan that I would go into broadcasting because I knew at the age of 11 and 9 that about 7, 8 years from that time, my kids would be going to college. And it happens that they both went to college and played sports in college. So I left broadcasting after 7 years and followed them around. But I also knew after their 4 years in college, they would graduate and go wherever they needed to go. And Dee Dee and I would have to do something. So my son, Michael, was a 4-year starter at Tennessee. We went to every game, home and away. I know I'm a Pac-10, Pac-12, Pac-8 guy, whatever. And I know I'm in Big Ten country. But let me tell you, in my humble opinion, there's nothing like SEC football from top to bottom. I mean, it is amazing. I went between the hedges. I went to the swamp. Even in Starksville, Mississippi, on the Oxford, Mississippi. Unbelievable. So, and then my daughter played 1 year of basketball at Tennessee, then 3 at Ohio State. So I knew when they were getting ready to finish college that I needed to do something. So after leaving broadcasting for 7 years and following them, watching them, I think they were sophomore, juniors, that's when I started the foundation. And that's when I really was able to be engaged and pour into it, because if it had my name, I was going to be engaged. I understand the leverage and the relevance of guys playing ball and starting foundations, but I also understand that at the time when I was playing, I was a husband, a father, a member of the Bengals. I didn't have enough time to be engaged in a foundation. I didn't want something with my name, and I didn't know what was going on. I wanted to be there to have hands-on impact. So I didn't start the foundation until 8 years after I retired, to engage the tri-state area, to impact kids mentally, physically, and spiritually. We have 8 programs. We have a very lean staff. In fact, 2 right now. We're looking to hire somebody. With 8 programs and what we do, they do a lot of work. They might have their title, but everybody rolls their sleeves up. Like Brett said, we'll be looking at 20 years next year, the foundation. About 40,000 kids that we've worked with. Well over $13 million. And I'm comfortable enough because my name's on it that I can go meet with the potential donor and give you everything that we're doing. Now, I don't know everything about the tax returns in 990s, but I know enough. And they're also public knowledge, so that's right there. And I know that just about every year we give 89 to 91% of the dollar to the kids. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the National Watchdog says if you give 60%, you're doing a good job. And I say 60%. If I blocked 6 out of 10 times, I don't know if I'd still be on the Bengals when I was playing. Now, if I blocked 9 out of 10 times, that's what allowed me to play 13 years. So I'll go out, and I'm pretty much the development guy. I'll knock on doors and share my passion, share my vision, and share with people what we're doing with the foundation. How we mentor these young elementary kids. But more than just mentoring, we build relationships. We take them to Reds games. Hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to go back to the stadium. We take them to the zoo. We do different things with them. We take them and their families shopping or give them gift cards. Or our scholarship kids, we take them to a Reds game and bring corporate partners and board members to share about, sure, we're going to give them scholarships to go to college, but we want them to learn about what it takes once you leave college and you get into the workforce. We take these young men for 3 days to a character camp, and we teach them a little football. It'd be crazy not to teach them a little football, right? But more importantly than that, we teach them what it means to be a person of character, integrity, how to work together as a team. We've been doing that for 20, 25 years. And saying, young man, you might not look like me. Your skin color might not look like mine, but we've got to work together. You are no better than me. Just because I'm in the Hall of Fame, I'm no better than you. We got to work together as a team. The same way we got in the huddle, and I was from East LA, my guard was from Humboldt, Iowa, a hog farmer. Our center was from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, Polish descent. We got to work together. And our right tackle is a big old Texan from Lubbock, Texas. Those are the things we share with young people. And it's crazy because of what we're going through today with the social injustice. The message that should be out there now, we've been doing that forever. And again, where does that come from? As I started my speech, from my upbringing. My grandparents, great-grandparents, both sides of the family were from Mexico. One of my best friends was African American, the other was Caucasian. The three of us, it didn't matter what color we were. We were going out in the summer to play as many baseball games as we could, and we played together. We went to each other's house and ate our mother's food, learned about the culture. For some reason, they seemed to gravitate more to my house, and I'm pretty sure it was my mom's homemade flour tortillas. So that's what motivates me, that's what incentivizes it, and that's what gets my energy going now. Waking up in the morning trying to figure out how to raise more money to impact more kids. But the fun thing for me, not only for I've been retired 100 years now, not only that in Cincinnati, but the last 10 years with the NFL. I have an agency, and we've been in 30 of the 32 NFL cities. In Mexico, 6 of the last 8 years, doing character camps. Fan development, character development. And then also at the Hall of Fame, we've had a new president the last 7 years, and we've started programs around the country. We've been north, south, east, west, 100 students, high school students, 1,800 high school students doing the same thing. And people ask me, a lot of people our age will say, man, what about our leadership in this country? And I say, you got to come with me one of these days. With the scholarship recipients we give in this area, across the country, you'll see the tremendous leaders of tomorrow that we have. Our country is in really good hands with these high school students that are going to college. And that's what excites me, is I get a chance to interview them, I get a chance to be around them, I get a chance to get to know them. And that's the passion I have through our foundation. And those are the things that, again, going back to my upbringing, we didn't have a whole lot. Relatives gave us rides to different places. Finally, I'll never forget, Mom bought a sofa or something at the local furniture store, and part of buying a sofa is you got a free skateboard. And we would fight with it because that was our transportation around town. I see these hoverboards now, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to try to kill myself now. 40 years ago, 50 years ago, maybe. But those are the things we learn. And that's why I have such a passion, not only because of Mom teaching us, but teachers and coaches. I just turned 62, and I met a coach when I was 7 years old. I have a 55-year relationship with a coach that started out as the head of Parks and Recreation in Ontario, California. So we would meet him at 7:38 in the morning during the summer, throw out the bases and play baseball. But you know what I found out really quickly at the age of 7, is that he not only was he the new head of Park and Recreation, but he was the new varsity baseball coach at the high school that I would attend in about 7 years. So I had to impress the guy. Ended up starting at third base for him for 3 years on the varsity. The last probably 14 years, we bring them out, and my foundation dinner, we give the Jim Seaman Impact Award to somebody here locally that impacts young people the way he did myself and other young men that he coached. The sad thing about it, that his wife will no longer be joining us. We lost her in April. But that's the type of platform that, it doesn't matter if I played in the NFL or production company or whatever. If we're all willing to stand up tall, I love that, and be used, we can have a platform. It doesn't matter what we do. And that's what excites me about putting the team together and continuing to impact these young people. And that's my passion now. After I retired, after I left broadcasting, when I started the foundation, I said, this is my passion. This is a way to have an impact, not just by myself. And I understand that it's not just by myself, because I played a team sport for years. I started playing team sports at the age of 7, retired at 35. That was my last camp in the NFL. I was 35. Like I said, I'm just on a bigger team now. And something I always say, I hope my staffs, I have 3 staffs, I hope they're not tired of me using sports analogies when we have meetings. But the one thing I always say, because we're always looking to collaborate, say the bigger the team, the bigger the impact. So I appreciate this opportunity just to share a little bit about my journey and where I've gotten my lessons from my mom, my teachers, my coaches, and Jim Seaman. Talk to him every week now that he's lost his wife of 55 years. And for the first time last week, I talked to him. We were out there 9 days just after she passed, and he asked me to be one of the 10 as we had a graveside funeral. We could only have 10. And we were with them for 9 days, and last week for the first time. And anybody that calls me from the West Coast, my nickname when growing up in high school and college was Moon. And he pretty much gave me that nickname. Last week when I talked to Jim, he said, Moon, he says, I miss Cheryl. Because I roll over to talk to her and she's not there. But I think he understands that his time is not finished, that God's going to continue to use him, even now the way he used him when I was young, with me and a lot of young men that he helped mold. This is the opportunity we have through charity. Is he was that dad to me that I never saw, that I never knew. My dad was in and out of prison growing up, was dead after he got out of prison, never met him. See, we can be that mom, that dad that a lot of these kids have never seen, never met, never will meet. And that's what excites me. You know, we tell the kids when they come into our program, say, now you got several crazy aunts. I used to say uncle, but now I say, now you got a crazy grandfather, because most of these kids, I could be their grandfather. When you get a scholarship or you go to camp, you're now a member of the Muñoz Foundation family. And we take that seriously. So if we're willing to be used and willing to have that utilize that platform, we can have an impact. And that's what you all are doing through your camps and all the service work you do. So I applaud you. And I thank you for allowing me to be here. I have a couple minutes to answer some questions if you... thank you. So feel free, any questions, as long as they're not too personal. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, sir. Yes, in fact, he asked if there's a story or two about some of the kids or one of the kids that we work with. Now we're getting to a point where, there's plenty of stories, and we're starting to document them, and with technology and booklets with stories. I guess the one we continue to do is so we have 8 programs. We have a mentoring, we have overnight character camps, 2 of those. We have a leadership seminar. We usually have 80 to 100 high schools. And we have 2 types of scholarships. We have one smaller scholarship that's a $2,000 to $5,000 one time to 18 individuals. And then we have a $20,000 scholarship that we, depending on budget and we're building relationships, we give 4 to 10 $20,000 scholarships. And with the big scholarships, we put a half hour aside. We bring them in and we interview them. We want to see, and hear from them. And let's see, so it's been 9 years now. We had a young lady who was probably all but this tall from Hamilton, Ohio. Alma Añete. And she came in, and we asked him, 2 board members, the staff, myself, and we asked him all the questions. And one of them is, what is your plan after college? Well, she says, well, first of all, I want to go to college. I want to get my undergrad in pre-med. I want to go to medical school. I want to become a doctor, come back to my neighborhood, and have an impact. Well, whoa. I mean, it's like, just like that. And they don't have the questions before. Sometimes you think, who gave them the questions that they could answer them? And all she has done so far, and she was one of our mentors during her 4 years at NKU. She graduated with the 4.0 in pre-med from NKU. She got accepted to Michigan Med School. She got accepted to Harvard Med School, St. Sinai Med School, and one other. She last year just graduated from Harvard Med School. We haven't talked to her this year, but so she's on track to being a doctor and coming back. And we have another young man who's from Milford, Ohio, the same thing. So I think 2 years after he graduated, we like to get video or have them come to our dinner. And he did a video for our dinner. We had 500 people at our dinner. And when I saw him after his video, I said, Eric, come on now. You grew up in Cincinnati. Sure, you're now running this multi-million-dollar marketing company in LA, but come on, know who you're talking to. He did the video in a Dodgers hat. I'm like, come on, put your Reds hat on. When you know your audience. But he's another young man, 2-3 years after college from Milford, Ohio, scholarship recipient, running a multi-million-dollar, this past February before everything was shut down, I was doing the Boomer Esiason show up in New York, so I flew up. And we like to get connected or stay connected, and one of our scholarship recipients was working in New York. So we looked, I said, where's Sam working? Well, Sam's office was like a block from the hotel I was staying at. He's with this big hedge fund firm, and he's doing unbelievably. So I had dinner with him the night I got there. And as we're talking, he said, Anthony, he goes, this is a great job. He said, I'll do this for a few years, but I'll eventually come back south. I want to come back home and start a foundation. So, I mean, it's not something that we say, here's what you got. But these are the type of individuals and the type of leaders that I'm talking about that we work with. Those are just 3 stories. I could go on all afternoon and share with you. Yes, sir. In my 13 years in the NFL, who was the most memorable opponent as a team or individual? Let's talk about most memorable team first of all. My first 2 years, for those of you who've been around, know the 79 Super Bowl, the Steelers beat the Rams in Pasadena to win their 4th in the 70s. So my rookie year was the year after that. So the first time we played the Pittsburgh Steelers, I come up to the line of scrimmage, and there's Dwight White, L.C. Greenwood, Joe Green, Ham, Lambert, Shell, Blunt. Then on offense, they had Blyer, Stallworth, Swan, Bradshaw, Franco Harris. And I'm thinking, do I get autographs first and then play the game? So, I mean, being able to play them, and they were starting to retire after that second year, but we were 4-0 my first 2 years against them. And the most memorable opponent, the reason I mention that is because my second year, when we went to the Super Bowl, we actually clinched, and I'm seeing if we have young people in here. We clinched the AFC Central, which was our division, at Three Rivers Stadium the second time we played them there. So to me, that was like, yeah, they were getting up in age and getting older, but still, they were 4-time Super Bowl champs, and we clinched the AFC Central at Three Rivers Stadium. As far as the most memorable opponent, singular, you know what? To me, there was great ones, really good ones. I respected them all, regardless to who it was, because they're playing in the NFL and they're the best in the world. I do say the best that probably I ever played against, there's probably a dozen guys, but the best all around was probably Bruce Smith of the Buffalo Bills. Size, strength, speed, quickness, smarts. But I could probably give you 10, 11 names like that in the 13 years that I played. Yes, sir. So the question was, the lease expires in how many years? 2026. Am I worried about them leaving? I hope not. I'd hate to say that, but as we know, I mean, in the past, there's been teams that you thought would never leave their city. So I hope it doesn't get to that we have to deal with that. Hopefully it's renewed before that, the same way they signed the collective bargaining agreement before it expires. By then, you're probably, looking at Katie and Troy maybe being in charge. So I would hope that it doesn't come down to that, but you never know. I mean, it's hard to say one way or the other. I wish I could say, nah, it's not going to happen, don't worry about it. But I really don't know. Yes? So the question was, have the Bengals taken advantage of me in a good way to help out with their players? You know what? It's one of, I think it's a tough thing. So right after I retired, the same line coach was there that I played with, so I was in there helping out. I think it becomes not being familiar with someone on a personal level. The head coaches, Zach has said when things open up, he wants me to come speak to the team. When Marvin was there, I spoke to the team. So those type of things, I have opportunities to speak to the team. As far as on the field, work with guys, I mean, it's sad for me to say since I've been retired, there's been a half a dozen NFL teams that I've gone to camps and worked with them. They've called me, and I love doing it. I still, I'll get guys that are in the league that will call me and come into Cincinnati, and I'll work with them. But other than the broadcasting right now, in the recent history, I've not really done any on-field or anything with the team. No. All right. Thank you very much for having me today. Appreciate everything you do. Thank you, Brett. All right.
What a great speech, and how inspirational. And as we think about what you're doing, Anthony, now in the 20 years or so since the foundation started, very similar in terms of service and looking out to improve the lives of people in our community, particularly young people in our community, which is a big focus of our Rotary Club here. And in Rotary, we have another focus globally in terms of fighting disease, and been a huge campaign since the 1980s to eliminate polio worldwide, and only 2 countries left that have polio. So in appreciation for you speaking to us today, we're going to make a gift in your honor to the End Polio Now campaign of Rotary International. So thank you again. And really appropriate for what you shared today and for what we're doing as a club is the Rotary theme this year, which is Rotary Opens Opportunities. And we are all working together to open opportunities for others, and particularly young people. So I'd like to give you a pin that commemorates that, Anthony. So thanks again to everybody who's attended in person today. Great to be here together. And for those who are attending virtually on Zoom, thank you for joining us. And again, next week our program is Wally Emmerling Day. In the meantime, have a great weekend. Meeting adjourned.